Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening. It's always a good time of Touchdown Paradise here on the Phoenix Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin, just solo today, coming to you all the way from Temecula, California at our matcha place. Y'all better check it out if you come here. Here we go, let's dive right in. So, I was actually in Hawaii the last weekend, and something about Hawaii, when you're over there, you're 3 hours behind California, meaning that you're 6 hours behind the East Coast. So if you're trying to watch College Game Day, you're going to be getting up really at 3 a.m. to watch the whole show. So obviously, I didn't get to see the entire thing. But what I will say is, for the bit that I did catch toward the end, my God, let me tell you, that place in Miami was electric. But before we get into that, we have some breaking news. Oklahoma State has fired Mike Gundy. I never thought I'd see the day, but it finally happened. Mike Gundy has been the coach of his alma mater, Oklahoma State, since 2005, with a 170-90 overall record, 12-6 in bowl games, most 10-win seasons in school history. He's most remembered for a lot of his quotes, including his great legendary rant, "Come after me, I'm a man, I'm 40," defending his players. You ever think that the players love playing for Gundy? Oh, yeah. Man was an absolute legend down there in Stillwater. He will be remembered forever as the winningest coach in Oklahoma State history. Now, what happens from here, we don't know. We just have to check it out. But an interesting stat I found means he's 58 now because Mike Gundy and I have the same birthday, August 12th, which I just learned today. I thought that was pretty cool. Happy trails, Mike. You will never be forgotten. Now, moving on here. The U is indeed back. The Canes down the Florida Gators 26-7 down there in Miami. Carson Beck, 160 yards and a pick. Mark Fletcher Jr., 116 yards and a rushing touchdown. Charmar Brown, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Meanwhile, DJ Lagway, only 61 yards passing for the whole game. What is going on in Gainesville? Well, at this point, we've seen this Gators team is not going anywhere. This schedule definitely doesn't help them either. But at this point, Billy Napier has been there for 4 years. 4 years he's had to fix this. You know, as a manager in my business, I always get preached, look, 5 months, 6 months is enough to evaluate someone and their performance in our business. In the college football business, things are a little bit different. But 4 years, when you've clearly got your own recruits in and everything, and you're still getting blown out on the road like this, you're losing to USF at home, you're going on the road, you're throwing 5 interceptions at LSU. I just don't understand how Billy Napier still has a job at this point. Meanwhile, all the people who were head coaches at Florida in the previous decade didn't get as long of a leash as Billy Napier. Will Muschamp didn't last 4 years. Jim McElwain didn't last 4 years. Dan Mullen didn't last 4 years. Billy Napier's been here 4 years now. And this is his result. All those guys at least won at least one season. They did really well. Napier has not had a winning record. Florida, what are you doing? I'm sure the fan base is calling for it. I'm sure the players now see it. How much longer can you go with this guy at the helm? I'm not one to advocate for someone to lose their job. And Billy Napier, from every account I've heard, is a wonderful guy, great guy. But is he the guy for this job? He's proven it. He's not. And this is tough. Florida's stuck in no man's land. This is where Nebraska has been for the last 30 years, basically. No man's land. It's where Tennessee was stuck for the longest time. And you can argue maybe they still are, but they're getting better. These former powerhouses, they're just not elite anymore. And things really have to change. But meanwhile, For the U, is it finally time to say they're back? This Miami team looks a lot different than some of the good Miami teams of the last decade, because you just saw those other teams, they had cracks in them. They were collapsing. And you knew that there was better competition in the ACC that would get the best of them. At this point, the only two teams I could see being a real threat to Miami are Florida State and Georgia Tech. Syracuse, they're getting a little bit better. Clemson is gone. They're done. This is Miami's year. And let me tell you, that game day, one of the best game days in history. For the little bit that I did see, Pat McAfee has now entered legendary status on this show. You get up on the high dive at the University of Miami, rip off your clothes to reveal a Speedo, rile up the crowd the way you do, and dedicate the pencil dive to Lee Corso, calling for Miami to win. Okay, this show definitely has life post Lee Corso. We may not get the headgear anymore, but we've got McAfee, the character, the animal. I love it. He was exactly what College Game Day needed. I've got to give all the props in the world to the executives that made that happen. And McAfee, of course, himself, for entering that godlike GOAT tier. That was awesome. That was so awesome. And I personally, even though I'm a UCF fan, I did want to go to Miami when I was a kid. I love to see Miami rocking again, back. Now can we get that on-campus stadium? Seriously? I'm so tired of seeing them have to drive 55 minutes from Coral Gables to Miami Gardens for a football game. Tropical Park, hey, is it going to happen? Come on. You know you want it. Ever since the Orange Bowl's been destructed, it just hasn't been the same. Maybe we're getting back to that era. We'll see. But overall, I love to see the U back. Now, moving along here, OU wins the Battle of Jackson Arnold versus Auburn, 24-17. That score is a little deceptive, and let me tell you why. John Mateer, 271 yards and a touchdown, one touchdown rush as well. They also had a program record of 10 sacks in this game, which included a safety at the very end of the game on fourth down that did put it to 24. There was a 2-point conversion that failed, so it was 22-17. Until that safety, it made it look like it was a touchdown game. Jackson Arnold, meanwhile, coming back to his old stomping grounds, 220 yards and a touchdown. Now, here's where things get a little bit complicated. John Mateer did break a bone in his hand, and now he's out for a month. The man who was leading the Heisman race and the Heisman odds coming into this week, all of a sudden this gets announced, and now OU's national title hopes at least are stalled for now. But thankfully for them, this is a 12-team playoff now, so not all hope is lost. They still have quite a bit of hope. But for the next month, they're going to be without him. How many games can they afford to lose? How many games do we realistically think they're going to lose without him? We know they're going to get Texas without him. Now, I don't know much about the backup at OU. I've heard he's pretty solid. But John Mateer is Superman. Great guy, great player. I just love watching him play. It's very mobile. He had to turn into Superman a couple times to beat Michigan and to beat Auburn. Now, Texas has been very shaky, but maybe they've gotten things back after a good drubbing of Sam Houston State. We'll have to see. But that Red River Showdown is going to be very interesting with Arch Manning and no John Mateer. So coming up here, we have, oh yes, Google him. Curt Cignetti and Indiana kicked the living snot out of a top 10 Illinois team in Brett Bielema, 63-10. You talk about a result I didn't quite see happening. I picked Illinois last week on here, and I'll eat crow for that, but not really because I'm vegan. How about this? Fernando Mendoza of Indiana. Hey, remember him? I remember him last year. Cal. I remember the game day went to Cal against Miami. Fernando Mendoza had a personal vendetta against Miami because the man is from Miami. He wanted to go to Miami, and they didn't recruit him. And they were up big time on Miami until Cam Ward pulled the ultimate comeback in the fourth quarter. That Fernando Mendoza, who still led Cal to a very good season. He could play. He transferred over to Indiana, and casually on a top 10 Illinois team, he drops 267 yards and 5 touchdowns on the Fighting Illini. Kobe Martin, 107 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Elijah Surratt, 9 catches, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Luke Altmaier, 146 yards and a touchdown. Could not get much going from there. There was also a punt block, the first touchdown of the game. Now the question here is Indiana better than they were last year? Curt Cignetti just has a way of making his whole team look like a flawless system at work. Had anybody really heard of Curtis Work last year? He came out of nowhere, transferring from Ohio. He played flawless football for the most part. They looked great. But this year they've got Fernando Mendoza, a legitimate star. Is this team better this year than last year? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I don't know if they're going to win as many games. They do have to go to Oregon. They do have to play Penn State, I believe. So if they can win those games, okay. They got a case for number 1 if they win those games. For now, great showing here. We're going to find a little bit more out about the Big Ten going forward. But how much less after this do we think of Illinois? You lose 63-10 as a top 10 team. Huge win for Indiana and their program. Maybe the biggest win in their history. As for Illinois, do they deserve to be ranked after this? I mean, listen. Notre Dame lost 2 games to top 10 teams, but they were one of the 6 ever teams to be 0-2 and still ranked after that. Yeah, they did win this week, but did they deserve to be ranked? Mind you also, Arizona State was a top 12 team a couple weeks ago, and they go on the road to Mississippi State. They lose on the last play of the game, basically, on a Hail Mary miracle pass, and they completely fell out of the rankings. Yes, Indiana was a ranked team. Yes, Illinois was a top 10 team, but you lose 63-10, and you're still ranked. How does this make sense? I'll say the same thing I said about Virginia a couple years ago when they were like the chosen team to represent the ACC in the Orange Bowl, while Clemson would go on to make the playoff. I believe they lost that game, 45-13 or something to Clemson? And they were at the bottom of the rankings, mind you, Virginia was that week going into the game. But they didn't drop out. They stayed because they needed a ranked team in the Orange Bowl. And I thought that was complete BS. And I'm calling BS again here too. I don't think that they're a ranked team anymore. Why do they deserve to be ranked after that? Hey, the AP poll, I agree with Joel Klatt here, who ripped it completely. Like, this is not okay. He ripped it because Washington, undefeated, playing great, did not get a single vote. And they're playing Ohio State this week. I'm going to rip it here because why was Notre Dame ranked still? And why did Arizona State drop out after a loss like that to Mississippi State? And now why is Illinois still ranked after a 63-10 loss as a top 10 team? Come on, what are we doing here, AP poll? What are we doing? Now some other notable games around the globe, around the country, excuse me. Michigan edges out Nebraska on the road, 30-27. I did pick Nebraska, and once again, they are just showing that they're growing, but they're just not there yet. It's going to take quite a bit of time to turn around that program. But Matt Rule is actively bringing that program back from the dead. I wish them well. Thanks for Scott Frost back. Notre Dame finally did win a game, 56-30 over Purdue. Now, mind you, last year, I believe they won 55-0 at Purdue. This one was at home, and they gave up 30 points. This defense is very concerning. Are they really going to win 10 in a row like the pundits are saying? I don't know. That USC game is looking tougher and tougher by the day. Speaking of USC, they continue to roll. I admit I was wrong. I picked Michigan State to upset them. Nope, they looked very good. Very well-rounded, solid team. 45-31 at home over MSU. Watch out for Jaden Mayava. Colin Cowherd was saying this week that last year he played with a lot of shakiness and inconfidence. This year he's cleaned up all of his mistakes, and he's playing elite great. It's like a Mackenzie Milton year 1 to year 2 jump. I'm impressed. If they can do this, watch out. Notre Dame will not make the playoff because USC might actually roll them. Missouri beats South Carolina 29-20 in Lenore Sellers' return. The other USC, they are now officially unranked, and I think they will continue to be unranked for the rest of the year, unless they string together a couple ranked wins toward the end. But yeah, Beamer ball not looking great right now. Meanwhile, Eli Drinkwitz's team, Bo Perbula, watch out for Missouri. Watch out, they can play. You're telling me that guy was sitting behind Drew Auer at Penn State, and you're choosing Drew Auer over him? They look great. If by some way that they meet in the college football playoff, get your popcorn ready, as Lane Kiffin once said. What else do we have here? Texas Tech handily beat Utah on the road, 34-10, in a ranked Big 12 matchup. Watch out for Texas Tech. They look for real. Joey McIntyre finally getting his guys in. They did invest a lot into this team, and it's paying off. Look, they're playing by the new rules. You invest in your team, go see wins. Good for them. Good for Texas Tech. They deserve to see a winner. And, oh my goodness, how about this? Just after Dabo says, hey, if Clemson's tired of winning, they can show me the door. Well, okay, Dabo. You had the chance to shut up the critics this week, and you didn't. In fact, you got your ass whooped at home by Syracuse, a team you haven't lost to since 2018. But this time they beat you at home. Mind you, this was the same team, the same Syracuse team that lost week 1 to Tennessee, that had to go to overtime to beat UConn at home. And Fran Brown made his guys run after that because he was not happy with them. Hey, you know what? I think it worked. Now we got to ask ourselves, hey, is Syracuse maybe a dark horse team in the ACC that can make some noise? Could they upset a Florida State? Could they upset a Georgia Tech? I don't think they could upset Miami. Miami looks too good. But if they start making noise, maybe the ACC gets multiple teams in there. Fran Brown, I like him. I like what he's doing with this Orange team. As for Dabo, is it time? Is he cooked? Is he done? How much longer can this go on? I mean, Oklahoma State pulled the plug on Gundy. Virginia Tech pulled the plug on Brent Pry. UCLA pulled the plug on Deshaun Foster. This is a guy who has refused to enter the NIL era. This is a guy who has also refused to utilize the transfer portal. They're just too old-fashioned. Look, if you continue to rely on the old way of getting rich, like putting away stocks and investments, sure. If you just continue to put into the S&P 500, the 401k, yeah, you're doing the traditional thing that'll help you grow. But are you really diversifying? Yeah, you can do that. You can have that old thing, but if you're not adapting to the new ways of getting rich, with crypto, with stocks, with real estate, with all different types of investing, stocks, bonds, everything. Are you really going to grow money as fast as you want to, or as long-term as you want to the point where you're going to see good results? You don't have a strategy to continue to keep up with the market. Look, if you continue investing in a VCR company, when DVDs, when YouTube came out, But you're like, no. VCRs have made me a ton of money in the past. I'm going to keep investing in that. It's 2025. We're well past the era of VCRs dominating. We're well past the era of DVDs dominating. If you continued investing in those companies, you're not going to see those same returns. It's time that you get with the times. It's time Clemson gets with the times if they want to compete anymore. And if Dabo's not going to do it, well, I'm thinking they need to find a guy who does and embraces that and is ready to take that on. Saban saw the writing on the wall. He wanted no part of this. I think Dabo is eventually going to see that, or Clemson's going to see that, one of those two parties, and one of them is going to pull the plug. Who and when, that remains to be seen. But is he going to last this season? I think they'll let Dabo play out his contract this year, and they'll either have him step down, he'll resign, and do something else, or who knows, some other school might be calling. But would another school really call Dabo and say, hey, we want you? If things go south for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama, would they call Dabo an alum of the program? If Oklahoma State is desperate for a big name, would they call Dabo? And T. Blue Pickens' money, that oil money, is still very good. But they need to do it. If that does happen, either school needs to do that on the condition, like, look, Dabo, you're going to have to adapt with the times. Again, this is all speculation in my head. Dabo has not lost his job. We have not heard any reports that Dabo is going to resign. He is still the head coach of Clemson until further notice. Clemson could turn it around, but their margin for error is now 0. I don't think they're going to make the playoff at this point. If by some miracle for them, and Miami loses twice in the ACC, Florida State loses twice in the ACC, Georgia Tech loses 3 times in the ACC because they have the tiebreaker, that's what it would take for them to win the ACC and get into the playoff. But there's no chance of them making the wild card. They're done. But moving forward here with our Paradise Parlay, kicking things off with USC at Illinois, the team on the rise versus the team that had a huge fall. Can Brett Bielema and a Fighting Illini rebound? Well, USC is a 6.5-point favorite on the road in Champaign-Urbana. Urbana-Champaign. I've never been to that part of Illinois, so Illinois fans, you have to enlighten me on that. Either way, USC 6.5-point favorite on the road. The over-under here is 60.5. USC minus 250 money line, Illinois plus 205. I've learned to take the over with Lincoln Riley and USC because their defenses have never been that great. And Illinois can score. They're going to be at home. I think Illinois is going to make a statement, but I do feel like USC is just a better team, and they're going to win. But Illinois is going to cover. It's going to be probably about a 34 to 31-point game. USC wins. It's going to go over. I'll take the Trojans' money line. Next up, The Ohio State travels to Seattle to face Washington, the Fighting Jed Fishes. Ohio State is an 8.5-point favorite on the road, 51.5 over-under. The money line here, Ohio State minus 325, Washington plus 260. Now here's an interesting stat. Washington, the second longest home winning streak in the nation. Ohio State looked shaky against Ohio for a few quarters. Now they do have a week off, but getting into Washington, this game, I feel like is going to be a lot closer than we think. I'm going to say Washington covers. Ohio State does escape, and it's going to be the under here. They're going to give Ohio State absolutely everything they can handle, run for their money. But I just do feel like Ryan Day is the new dominant coach in college football after last year. Finally, he proved he could get over the hump to win it all. With Saban being gone, Dabo being on the downslope, Mac Brown is gone, all these other coaches retiring. It feels like Ryan Day is the new gold standard. Jim Harbaugh's gone. It might be time. This is the Ohio State era. So I'm going to pick Ohio State to win. I'm picking Washington to cover. And I'm going to go the under. This is going to be a much closer game. I'm predicting about 27-21 Ohio State on the road. The home streak ends here, but it's not going to be easy. That crowd is going to be roaring up there in Seattle. It's a beautiful stadium, beautiful location right on Lake Washington. One of two stadiums in the FBS that does tailgating, them in Tennessee. And I love it. I love every second of that. Down there in the SEC, LSU travels to Ole Miss. The Rebels are a 1.5-point favorite at home. The over-under here is 56.5. Ole Miss's money line favorite is 125, LSU plus 105. I'm going to go with the home favorite here because I think that LSU is overrated. You heard me, overrated. Why? You won that close against Clemson on the road in week 1. Meanwhile, you see what Syracuse just did to Clemson. Yeah, maybe you got into their heads and broke them in week 1, broke them for the season, but I don't know. I'm just starting to see through that the Clemson win's not looking great. The Florida win is not looking great either. Yeah, you got 5 interceptions, but you still couldn't score on them, really. Your defense looks phenomenal, but your offense still hasn't woken up. LSU, this is your chance to prove to us, hey, it's time to wake up. It's time to get that offense going. Otherwise, Lane Kiffin, great offensive mind, could run all over you, throw all over you. I'm going to go with the Rebels here. I've got Mississippi covering. I've got the over. Scratch that. I'm going to go the under. LSU still got a good defense, so I think they'll get enough stops, but not fully enough. They'll get a fair share. I do feel like Ole Miss is going to win this game. I'm going to go 25-23. 25-23. So give me the Rebels. Give me the under. And spread. Give me Ole Miss to cover. Staying in the SEC here, the great rivalry of this generation, Bama versus Georgia at Athens this time. UGA is a -3 favorite at home. Over-under here is 53.5. UGA -155. Bama plus 130. I'll admit I was wrong about Gunnar Stockton. He does actually look pretty good after a full off season of practice and developing his game. To go on the road and come back against Tennessee the way he did and just throwing effortlessly elites. Georgia's got all those big guys. The run game is going. But this is still Bama. Bama's always been the thorn in Kirby Smart's side except for that one national championship. And you know what? I feel like this is going to be another one of those times. Somehow, some way, everything on paper says UGA should win this game. But it's still Alabama. Kalen DeBoer is still a very great coach. Yeah, he's had his slip-ups here at Bama. But I think he's got more pressure on him to win this game. So I'm going to go with Bama to pull the upset here. I'm going to have Bama beat the spread. And we're going to go the over because both teams can score. And I'm going to go the Bama money line. Now for a game of the week here. I've been waiting a while for this one. The real test for both these guys. Up in Happy Valley, we have Dan Lanning and the mighty Oregon Ducks against James Franklin and the not ready for prime time Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State is a home favorite here. Night game, whiteout, -3.5. 52.5 over under. Penn State -175. Oregon plus 145. Now, don't get it twisted. This is one of the most incredible, fiercest environments in all of college football. A night game whiteout at Penn State. This is not going to be any easy test for Oregon. And Joel Klatt made a great point here earlier this week on his show. There's a lot of pressure on James Franklin now to win this game. We saw what happened last year when they played in the Big Ten Championship. Oregon just outscored them, boat raced through them. Penn State did keep up, but not enough. It was a high-scoring affair. This time, though, Penn State's at home, and here's the biggest thing. They can run the ball. Oregon cannot stop the run. We saw that against Northwestern. It was concerning. So what they need to do, the key to the game, is they need to stack the box more than any other time this season and really try and slow down that Penn State rush game. Force Drew Howard to throw it, because those Oregon corners, that'll be no easy test for Drew Howard should they play this way. I do trust Dan Lanning as the defensive-minded coach here. But if James Franklin, and Joel Klatt said this too, if James Franklin and Penn State don't win this game, then when are they ever going to win this game? When are they ever going to win these big primetime games? There's a huge fire under James Franklin's ass right now, and rightfully so. Oregon didn't have to win this game. They're probably going to be favored in every single game this season, except for this one. They look great. Dante Moore, 100% looks like a pro QB. His game just looks so smooth and effortless. I love to watch him. So what is my pick here? I hate to put my faith in a team that always comes up short. But Penn State, what concerns me most is that Oregon run game. And I feel like this is just the time. They might be ready. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to pick Penn State. It's going to be very close. Penn State wins. They don't cover. It'll be a 3-point win, probably by a field goal. Give it to me 20-17 Penn State here. Under hits, and Penn State hits the money line. There you have it. No upsets or covers this week. I just didn't see any that really stood out. But here's what else I'm watching. UCF at Kansas State. Now this one, as a UCF fan, I am worried about. Kansas State cannot finish a game really this season. They were only able to finish against North Dakota, and even so, it was by a field goal. I don't trust that defense, but I also don't trust UCF fully yet. They haven't been tested. North Carolina doesn't count. Great win, but now you're going on the road in Manhattan, Kansas, where UCF has never won, mind you. I believe they're 0-2 all time against Kansas State. I just don't see it. I do feel like this UCF team is a lot better than they were last year, and I enjoy watching them. But this is a tough environment with a great fan base behind them and to be in the stands. I would love to see UCF win this game. I just don't know if they're going to be able to. I predicted this year was going to be a tough rebuilding year with some growing pains with Scott Frost back. But I will say I am so happy that he is back. I love Scott Frost as the coach of UCF. He's just such a natural fit. And I love to watch his offenses. UC Fast is back, baby. I'm so happy. It makes my heart so warm to see it. So whatever happens this week, you know what? I'll stand behind them. I will stand behind my Knights. But this is not going to be any easy test. And then we get a battle of two questionable teams here, Notre Dame and Arkansas. Notre Dame, we know, lost those two tough ones to start the year against Miami and against Texas A&M. And then how about Arkansas coming up short against Memphis last week. And now they get Notre Dame at home. And this is going to be really telling, make or break here, because if Arkansas comes back and beats this Notre Dame team, what does that say about Memphis? It shows that they're a great team. They are probably going to be the favorite to win the American and become that group of 5 bid into the playoff. But it also shows that if Notre Dame loses, that's it. No more. No more. They're out. They're done. Now, if Notre Dame does win this game, I think Sam Pittman is done. He is not going to have a desk come Monday. Arkansas is going to have to make a big, abrupt change. So I am intrigued with that matchup. And if Pete and Joe were here, I'm sure they would too. They'd be a little nervous, I'm sure, because it is make or break time for Notre Dame. And that's all. Quick little wrap up here. My cheer of the week goes out to the Hallelujah property in Kauai. Let me tell you, Princeville, Kauai, very zen, beautiful, natural place. I spent the last 4 nights there chilling, making content. If you're not following me on Instagram, by the way, I don't know what you're doing, at Justin Garfield. Go check that out. A little shameless self-promotion. But hey, anytime you're trying to go to paradise, enjoy a little touchdown in paradise, the Hallelujah property has the best sports package. It's got a look at the ocean right from the lanai. It is absolutely gorgeous. You can see the sunset just outside on the lawn. Yeah, like I said, the time difference is quite different. And yeah, you're probably going to be doing a lot of beach activities. But if you do love your team like I do, they do have the full-on sports package ready to go for you at the property. So anytime you're looking to go to Hawaii, be sure to look up Hallelujah, that's Hale space Luya, property in Princeville, Kauai. The Garden Isle. Beautiful place. Could not recommend it more. Wonderful owner, wonderful host. Better go check them out. And that about wraps it up for me here on Touchdown in Paradise, here at the Fins Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin, and I will see you next week from Bali. Or at least I'll try. That time difference is going to be pretty intense. Either way, have a great week, and I'll see you then.